This is the Reinventing Church podcast. I'm Derek Sanford, pastor of Grace Church on the shores of Lake Erie in Pennsylvania, and we're chronicling our journey from a successful megachurch built on an attractional church growth model to a missional multiplication model where we're looking to empower every Christian to live out their calling in the world. So I'm here with my co-host, Danielle Hartland.
Hi.
What is up, Danielle?
Hi. What is up is I think I need to develop some sort of pastor voice. Coming after you. I'm like,
all
oh,
right.
hey, I'm Danielle.
Did I turn it on?
You did. Like, blah, 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 blah. It was great.
Every pastor has one.
They do. They
preaching
do.
voice.
Yeah. But it's good. Yours is good. It's clear. It's not like that sad, whiny one that a lot of them do, you know?
Oh, yeah.
Sorry, no offense.
Whoops. Wow.
You don't know you do it if you do it, probably. But sorry. Hey, so I thought it might be fun to let people get to know you a little bit.
Okay.
You know, just they're not going to find you like shouting from the rafters anywhere.
Right.
Like they're not going to learn stuff about you. So
Right.
you're generally pretty normal and quiet in the streets. So one of your favorite authors, theologians, would be C.S. Lewis.
Oh, yeah?
I would say, yeah. And one of your favorite singers, I'm just kidding, is Taylor Swift. Not really. But I saw this church. We'll put it in the show notes. We'll put their name in the show notes. But I saw a church do this thing where they read, is this a C.S. Lewis quote or a Taylor Swift lyric? So I want you to play that game. It's real quick. So I'll read it, and you just tell me who. I can't necessarily, I didn't write down like what books and writings they came from, but you would probably know. So
well, I don't know.
Okay, so here we go. C.S. Lewis or Taylor Swift?
Ridiculous.
They're close.
Okay.
That's what's ridiculous. All right. Love anything, and your heart will be wrung and possibly broken.
That's C.S. Lewis.
That is, yeah. This is a state of grace. This is a worthwhile fight.
That's Taylor Swift.
It is Taylor Swift.
All right.
You're doing good.
I'm 100%.
You're doing great.
Okay.
We learned the right steps to different dances. I know. Someone were like, wait a minute.
Is Travis Kelce an option?
He's not.
He wouldn't say
We'll talk
anything
about him
that
next
profound.
week. Yeah.
That's C.S. Lewis.
It's Taylor.
Oh, no.
Yeah, it's a close one.
Oh, that was a close one.
If you love deeply, you're going to get hurt badly, but it's still worth it.
Oh, see that? So, yeah, they both kind of say that.
They have very similar outlooks on life, the two of them. Yeah.
That's yes.
It is, yeah.
Okay.
Why love if it hurts so much? We love to know that we're not alone. It's embarrassing, honestly.
I'm going with Clive.
Yeah, C.S. Lewis.
All right. Good. Excellent.
The love of knowledge is a kind of madness.
That's Taylor.
No.
Oh, no.
I know. I know. Things never happen the same way twice. This one isn't fair. I feel like a lot of people say this kind of thing.
Yeah.
But
they might have both said it.
they might have both.
Taylor Swift.
No.
Are you kidding?
Yeah. In our history, across our great divide, there is glorious sunrise.
Taylor Swift.
Yes. Clover blooms in the fields. Spring breaks loose. The time is near.
That's C.S.
No.
No.
No. It's Taylor. I don't remember the song. It's like from Evermore or something.
Oh, my goodness.
We're going to get... Well, that's one way we'll go viral. Now we're in trouble. I said the wrong song. Well, how'd your podcast get popular? Danielle said the wrong Taylor Swift reference.
And the Swifties came for blood.
Okay, a couple more. Someday you will be old enough to start reading fairy tales again.
Oh, that's C.S.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
There are far, far better things ahead than any we leave behind.
Oh, man, that sounds like C.S., but I'm going to go with Taylor.
It's yes, yeah.
Is it?
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Two more. Old habits die screaming. That's like, I'm getting a shirt of that.
I can't. Please tell me that's Taylor.
Yes.
Okay.
Good job. Last one. The pain I feel now is the happiness I had before.
Oh, the pain I feel now. C.S.
Yeah.
Okay, good. They're close.
Good job. You did good. You only missed a couple.
I know.
You did
that's
great.
Pretty scary.
I know. I love the game. I was like, this is great.
They're cut from the same cloth.
There's one I want to do with our staff where you hold a pool noodle and you hold them over a pool and then you start a worship song. And if they can finish it, you let them, otherwise you like let them go in the pool. We're doing it.
I saw a similar one recently that was, it was like the Bible or ChatGPT.
Oh, no.
So they had put these, they had just had it come up with like inspirational sayings.
No.
It was close.
I bet you could do a sermon and see if people would notice.
Oh, listen.
That would be intense.
Remember when I did this before, when I did a fake sermon?
I do.
That was bad. Anyway, we better get into this. Hey, so we're doing this this podcast in 3 different sections, all of which we think will be helpful for church leaders and pastors and anybody really kind of related to church leadership. And so the first one, you want to explain this first one?
Yeah, so this first one, it's called From the Pastor's Inbox. And I'm excited to get in here. So this is just emails that Derek and maybe other pastors in our organization have received. And it's kind of a grouping of a bunch of different comments from similar emails, right? So we're not
calling anyone.
Yeah, we're not going to, that's not the point.
Right.
So I'm going to read the email.
In fact, the reason we're choosing them is because they're helpful.
Right, exactly.
So it's not like, hey, these people are, wrong by sending these things. We're trying to say this was a good, and I mean, occasionally we'll probably make fun of one or two, but
we definitely have to.
A lot of them are, the reason we're talking about them is because they're helpful.
And you have to craft an answer, so hopefully that'll help somebody else. Yeah. It's good. All right, so here's the first one.
Okay.
I'm not sure how to put my heart into words without being disrespectful.
Well, that's always a...
We know.
Yeah.
We know you're not
As a church leader, when it starts that way, here it comes.
Yeah, buckle up.
Go ahead.
Israel, the apple of God's eye, came under a very horrific attack. Why has our leadership at Grace not called us to immediately intercede? I'm very confused and just don't understand. Do the bombs need to be falling in our neighborhoods? Does it need to be our wives and children being shot and burned to death? What is it going to take? I'm bringing you tears from the Holy Spirit of Jesus. Do not harden our hearts. We need to pray before the bombs start showing up on our soil.
Yep. Intense.
Yeah. It was not disrespectful. It was just a little intense. But the feelings are intense. I get that.
Around this.
Yeah.
Yeah, and particularly, so there's an America and Israel thing.
Right.
And there's a church and Israel thing. And I think that, as I was thinking about my response to this, this kind of grouping of emails or questions, I'm really kind of coming at it from a church and Israel thing. And so the first thing that I acknowledged in this email that was all of the ways in which we are encouraging our people to pray. We typically, because we're a multi-site church, we're spread out, we're very complex. We don't typically have a one single gathering of prayer that happens all the time. And that causes some people to think that we are not a praying church. Right. And my encouragement always is to that we want our groups that are meeting to be praying groups. And just because we don't have a centralized prayer meeting doesn't mean that we're not a praying church. Right. But when it comes to the specific question of Israel, I think it's important to kind of parse out how do we get to the place where we think that whatever happens to Israel must be kind of a priority in our minds and hearts and the forefront of everything. And really, it comes down to a couple of different things that, again, I think it's helpful to parse out as we think about our response to this. So one of them is this idea of kind of, there's a group of people that kind of sees America as the new Israel. Right. So the new kind of apple of God's eye. And therefore we are tied intimately to whatever happens to Israel is almost like it's happening to us. And this goes way back to like the beginning of our country, the Puritans and, I mean, it's wild when you read back through it. Like some of the Puritans were referring to America as the new promised land. There was lots of language about this. There was a lot of claiming of the Old Testament promised land passages to them and to this new country. Even some of the forefathers, when they were being asked to create a seal for the United States or whatever, they were falling back on like Moses parting the Atlantic Ocean.
Wow.
You know what I mean?
I didn't know that. It's like
it's like we're coming out of exile from this. And
makes sense.
Pharaoh with a crown on, like the King of England kind of thing. And so there was all of these ties to America and Israel. And so that is kind of deep in us.
It is.
I also think it's a misreading of Scripture. I don't think we are the new Israel.
We just lost all our Taylor Swift. Wow. Oh, well, I tried.
However, there are the Christians and the church are the people of God in the same way that Israel was the people of God. And I think where it becomes blurry is when we make that nationalistic.
Oh, yeah,
and go,
for sure.
This country is the same as that country. So that's one level of it. Another of it comes down to kind of a theological thing. By the way, I simplified this a lot in my response.
Oh, I'm sure.
But I'm describing kind of, I think for some pastors and church leaders, kind of some of the things that we will need to wade through if we're going to give an intelligent response to this, is a theological idea of dispensationalism. And so it's a fairly new theological construct. It's from the mid-1800s to the mid-1900s is when this came on the scene. And so the fact that we hold so tightly to it is a little weird when we realize it's that recent. But it's basically this idea. One of the main tenets of it is this clear distinction between God's timelines and God's methods. A lot of it has to do with end times, and that's where you get all of the very specific timelines. But one of the big things about it is defining the church and Israel as two very separate entities.
Okay.
And so there was like the Israel age, there's the church age, and this idea is there's going to be another Israel age, like literally nationalistic. So when the Bible talks prophetically about Israel coming back or returning to God in the end times kind of thing, the dispensationalists will say that's actually the nation of Israel that is going to literally come back to God during that time. And so this, again, this kind of fuels this idea that Israel is the apple of God's eye. They're always going to have a clear place in God's story. I tend to kind of view the Bible a little bit more as a whole, that the people of God is kind of growing and changing over time, but there's always a people of God, that it's not that clear of like, this is the church and then this is Israel, but that the people of God are the true followers of God, no matter what age. And so in my mind, Israel as a nation is not necessarily going to come back to God in the end times, but Jesus is still going to be the way. And so I think there's going to be some sort of a revival in Israel where people come to Jesus, but it's not going to be this national turning back to God. Anyway, so that's another big thing. And I guess I would just say as a last thing, there is a verse in the Bible that says, pray for the peace of Jerusalem. This is, and so this is what a lot of Christians claim. We should be praying for Jerusalem, which is absolutely true. What I want to make the distinction of, though, is that we are never called to always take Israel's side no matter what they do.
Yeah, I'm glad you said that. That's good.
Because God didn't even do that. Like, when God was mad at Israel, they were not the apple of his eye anymore. He was punishing them. So this idea that they can do whatever, any atrocities that they want on the world, and we just support everything that happens. Like, I don't think we're ever commanded to do that, and I don't think God even does that.
Right.
And so, I think that's one of the things that we need to be discerning about how we do this. Again, obviously, we should pray for these things. That I don't want any of this to sound like I'm saying we shouldn't pray for it. But when the question comes, why don't we jump to pray for Israel immediately, no matter what's happening with them? Well, it's not exactly that clear cut. I think, like any other nation, we would want to pray when bad stuff is happening and pray that God would reign and pray that people would turn to Him and those sorts of things. So anyway, that's the Israel thing.
Cool. Yeah, if you're a church leader and you want to submit a question, maybe you've wrestled with, you haven't answered somebody yet, or maybe you did answer somebody and you just want to share it for the good of everybody, you can share it with us at dereksanford.com. We'll keep it anonymous. If you send it and you did give an answer and you want to send the answer, go ahead and do that. And this whole section hopefully will have content from everybody. It'll be really, really great.
Yeah, it'd be helpful.
All right. So now we're moving into our Reinventing Church topic.
Yeah, and so I was thinking today, this is the first episode, first full episode, that we would just kind of do a quick overview and share it like this, that these would be 5 mind-shifting insights about Reinventing Church.
Cool.
So as you know, because you came through the process too, we went through a year-long process with these guys from Clarity House, Dave and Shane, and we want to give them shout-outs as often as we can. They were incredible, incredibly helpful. And so a lot of these insights came through our time with them as we were thinking and processing and planning for this shift. And so these are more kind of guiding principles that we're using that we're going to talk a lot more specifically about as this podcast goes on. So
I'd say too, just before you go on, whether you were to work with Clarity House or whatever, I think one principle we've taken this from changes before, but get outside eyes on what you're doing.
That's right.
It doesn't have to be Dave and Shane. It could be whoever, but just get some other eyes. If you're reinventing stuff, you need to hear from other people. So I'd encourage you to do that.
Yeah, it's been very helpful. So 5 mind-shifting insights about reinventing church. Okay, so here's the first one. This phrase that has become kind of a mantra, that the modern church is over-inspired and under-trained. So what do you think about when you hear that phrase?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we've talked about this before too. We can right now probably just start playing sermons that are online. It will never end. Like, we can get all the content we need from the best thinkers, best speakers, and we're just like, it's just like with any media. We're just like, you're just taking it in.
Yeah.
Books, everything, podcasts, all the things. Like, we're not lacking.
And then the question comes, but are we living it out?
Right.
And that's the kind of tension point of this point, is just going, okay, we can keep inspiring and keep putting out content and keep writing great worship songs and keep having people raise their hands when they come to worship. And it can still be true that people don't actually know how to live this out in their real life. And so, one of the things that we talked about during our journey with Dave and Shane was this idea of shifting from people saying wow to people saying aha.
So clear.
And so, like, when they come to one of our services, instead of going, wow, look what they're doing, they're saying, aha, I could do that.
Yeah.
And so how do we shift the way we do church to be able to go, we're actually helping people to live this out on a day-to-day basis. And for that to happen, it's going to take a shift from teaching and inspiring to training.
Yeah.
And so that's a shift that we're trying to make. And, I think the way that looks for us, and again, I know you've been really involved in this process, so you can speak into it, but, is really trying to create tools for people to use. And, even thinking about how do we do things differently on Sunday? How do we think of our church as a training center, not just a teaching center, or not just a worship center, or not just a children's ministry center, but where we're actually training people how to live the Christian life.
Yeah.
And I think, so one of the things that we've incorporated now on Sundays is, maybe at the end of a sermon, instead of just ending and praying and singing, we're saying, hey, we're going to introduce you to a tool that can help you kind of process through this. And so we just got done with a series on toxic emotions, and we introduced this examine tool. It's an old tool, but we kind of dusted it off and put some new, and just said, here's 4 questions to ask at the end of the day to help you just process through, where did God show up in your life during the day. So just incorporating those things where it's like, there's a tool here to help you actually live this out, I think has been a big shift. And we're going to be doing lots more of that.
Tons.
Yeah.
When I think about the wow to aha thing, one thing that comes to my mind is how and again, this is not, no one's doing anything wrong, but we try so hard to present so well on a Sunday that I think unintentionally we're causing people to just watch people sing, and people are participating obviously, but you're not thinking, wow, I wonder if I could even get up on that stage. You're thinking, wow, I can't believe they're doing this. Wow, I can't believe how excellent this is. Of course, that will always be part of things, but what's the moment, where we can kind of take a little bit of that shine off and let people see that this could be a more communal experience. I'm excited to see how all that stuff shakes out.
Yeah, and one of the silly little things that we've started to do more and more is, like even for the worship team, to come up out of the room.
Yes, right.
Come just to walk.
Yeah, don't come from behind Wizard of Oz.
Don't magically appear from behind the
curtain. We have all done it.
We've all done it. We've done it for many years.
Always,
But I think that picture, that visual image of people standing up from their seats from the congregation, walking up onto a stage and picking up an instrument and playing it goes, these aren't some paid professionals that just kind of come out of nowhere. These are our people.
Oh, she just set her Bible on the chair and got up and it's such, it feels like such a small tweak, but it communicates so much. Yeah.
So that's the first insight, is the modern church is over-inspired and under-trained. The second one is that every church should define discipleship locally. And this was, I don't know, all of these, I guess. It shouldn't seem like it should be so insightful, but it's like, yes. And I think the big thing here is that we have this idea that first of all, that discipleship is this big, unattainable thing way out there, but also that it's just these universal principles that everyone should just do. And there's an element of truth to that.
Sure.
But one of the things as we've gone through this process that we walked through was kind of defining our what we call our local predicament. And the local predicament, the reason that we defined that, so we said, let's look at our region. What are some things that are true of our region? We kind of gave as the big banner over that there are broken narratives. That people are living out a lesser story. And we talked specifically about Erie, that Erie is very fractured. So that there's this siloing that happens from our social service agencies to our churches, to our neighborhoods, to racially, to ethnically, to, so it's a fractured community. It's what we called an ironically insecure.
That's my favorite one.
Community. Describe that.
So Erie historically has been labeled as like a mistake on the lake, or Rust Belt, like all these I mean, that's for more than Erie, but there's all these like kind of negative terms like dreary Erie, or whatever. And people really people have T-shirts that say these things. Like it's not. And I think even personally, like when I look back of the history of even my own family, like the talent. I won't be super specific, not to be awkward, but like the talent that I see in certain older family members and like other generations that just wasn't realized because they didn't feel like they were worth it, or didn't feel like they should. I think it's almost like a spiritual, like a stronghold that we have in Erie of just like, we have so much potential, but there's something like literally keeping a lid on it. That's how I interpret it.
That's good. So there's this insecurity about our community, about how, and you have the brain drain of the bright young talent like leaving because who would want to stay? So there's this insecurity, and we said it's ironic because Erie's an awesome. It's
an awesome place.
It's an amazing place to live, amazing place to raise a family. We've got beautiful natural resources, the whole thing. So anyway,
by the way, I heard we're like top 25 for like entrepreneurs or something right now,
really?
At like small to mid-sized cities.
Wow.
I know. It made me think like I want to do like a news clipping wall or something where we have like.
Well, USA Today just came out as Erie is the #1 lake in the United States.
Cool.
Which is,
it's beautiful.
Lake Tahoe's pretty good though, but.
I mean, I understand. Fine. Lake without mountains.
So ironically insecure. And then we said the other thing was a change resistant.
100%.
And so like Erie has always kind of stopped progress, and there's a million examples of that. Anyway, but my point is we went through that process of what is our local predicament to then ask the question, what kind of disciple do we need to create that's going to affect that local predicament?
It's genius.
And so this idea that, yes, there are universal aspects to what it means to follow Jesus, but there are also very specific things to the community that you're in that discipleship needs to accommodate or play out in. And so that was huge for us. I mean, that was...
It changed the game.
It did. And it's what led us to create this kind of dream disciple. Again, that we'll talk much more about these things. But, I would just say to other churches and church leaders, like, man, a really good basic exercise to do. It's just like, what is our community? What are those defining features of our community? And then what kind of people do we need to produce from our church that are going to affect change in that kind of community? So anyway,
that's great.
That was a big one. The third mind-shifting insight is that churches generally misuse their core values. And
this
again,
is good too. They're all good. Guy, I'm just going to be like, yep,
So, and here's the two ways I think I can see churches misusing their core values. One is they either ignore them altogether. And that happens sometimes. Like, what are our core values? Like, and people don't even know them. Or they do what we were doing, which is they use their core values to try to measure discipleship. And that's not really what core values are for. Core values are like kind of the rudder that keeps us going, true north kind of thing. And make sure that we don't veer off to the right or to the left, and kind of gives us the train tracks that we need to go on, whatever. I'm mixing metaphors.
Well, a lot of stuff going on here.
A lot of travel metaphors.
They'll stick with you. You're good. Travel metaphors.
But until we kind of put the work in to develop this dream disciple thing, we had been using those core values to kind of do a lot of things.
Yes.
And just go, hey, do our people live up to these values and that sort of thing. And so the separation of those discipleship measurables and our core values was a very big step for us. And it led to what we're calling, we're creating a new scorecard. And it gave us just that kind of that clarity to say, what are we actually measuring?
Yeah.
So
that's good.
That's the third one. Fourth, people are desperate to find their purpose in life. And this was a huge, and again, it's not a new insight, but man, I think about today more than ever. There is a longing in people to find two things, their identity and their purpose. And until that kind of happens, and the question that we're asking, how can the church help with that?
Yeah.
Because the church shouldn't be left out of that conversation.
No, my gosh.
That is the core of what we can provide. And so we're talking a lot about really the two things we're changing are the scorecard and the finish line. And the finish line is that we're extending the finish line of discipleship outside the walls of the church to include what are our people called to do where they live, work, learn, and play.
Yes.
And so this is going to be kind of the cornerstone of our new vision.
And I like too how, because sometimes the church at large can kind of chase these things like purpose or like buzzwords, you know. But this calling thing for me, I think is appropriately placed under this discipleship umbrella. And I think it's going to have a different flavor. It's not going to just be this like flash in a pan, like, I don't want to say any names of things, but like something that people just get like a fad about. These are like core things that God built into us that we should realize to live out what he wants us to do on this earth. And so I'm excited that it's kind of it's nested in the right place, I think.
Yeah, that's
good. Not just this project.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, and what we're really trying to get at, and we're writing some curriculum and stuff around this, but what we're really trying to get at is like trying to get it literally down to a couple words.
Yeah.
What are a couple of words that describe who God made you to be on this earth that will follow you the rest of your life, no matter whether you're at home or you're at work so we're not coming at it to say, I'm called to be an insurance agent or whatever. It's not an occupation. It's it's this thing that kind of transcends all of that says, here's what I bring to the world because of who God made me to be and where he's placed and positioned me. And now my job is to live out that thing no matter what environment I find myself in. So I'm really excited about that. That's going to be like we're actually piloting some classes this fall and stuff around that, which is going to be super fun. All right, the last one, last mind-shifting insight about Reinventing Church, and this has to do more with change in general, but that people's experience of church is tied to a strict but unwritten social contract.
Yes.
So again, we're finding this out.
Yep.
And we're going to find it out more and more as we go, that when people come to a church, there is an expectation in their mind that says, this is what the church provides me, and this is what I provide the church. This is not written down anywhere. This is not a signed document. This is just in everybody's mind. There is that social contract. Yeah. And here's the point, when you start messing with that, it can be disruptive.
Absolutely disruptive. Yes.
So, I think just when I heard it described that way, something went off of my brain going, this is why change is hard in the church. Yeah. Because of this unwritten social contract. Yeah. People aren't just here because, hey, whatever you guys say, we're fine. Right. They're like, no, here's what the church does for me and here's what I do. And that can be informed by all kind of things, good or bad.
Every person in a row down would have a completely different
one. Yeah. Right. Yeah. So, I think about things like when this last Easter, instead of doing the big Easter egg hunt at the church, passed out plastic Easter eggs and a little plan and said, do an Easter egg hunt in your neighborhood. That broke the social contract for some people.
Yeah, sure did.
And they said, no, this is what the church does. And we're saying, no, we're actually reorienting from a people come to us to we go to them kind of mentality. This is one very little way that we're going to start to do that. And again, any kind of little changes like that begin to break that contract. And I think it pushes us to be much more clear about the whys.
Yes, that's what I was going to say. I hope we can be helpful with that. Like putting really good language around things, really good, why behind. Because, I'm losing my words while I'm trying to explain words. So that works.
Yeah. All right. So let's move into this last little chapter of the podcast and talk about something that happened this week.
Yeah.
Okay?
Okay.
So, we're having lots of conversations. We just had a baptism, by the way.
We did. And that's that could be a learning maybe.
Yeah.
We haven't done a beach baptism. Again, we're on the shores of Lake Erie, so of course you would. But we haven't done one since before COVID.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't even remember the last year we did it, but just kind of fell out because of that. And then, I think this is part of the learnings. As your church approaches certain sizes, things you used to do can seem more daunting or inappropriate because of the number of people that, you show up at a beach with like 50 people with a guitar to baptize 2 people. Great. Awesome experience for people. You try to descend on a beach with 800 people and organize that.
Right.
It becomes a different kind of experience, right? So we were just evaluating it and it went really well. It was awesome. We ended up baptizing almost 100 people at the beach. We were expecting like around 90. So we got some like spontaneous in the moment. And one of the things that I'm really proud of us, we really looked at what is this going to be? What is this really going to be? We asked the right questions. We said, you're bringing guests. How many guests are you going to bring? We really like thought it through. And I think it was Marcus Buckingham at the summit recently. He just was drilling in this idea of building love in. And one of the ways we did that, so we're taking kind of like a large scale event out into the public. We're throwing up all the filters in the brainstorming meeting, right? Like, don't be weird. Don't hand anything out. Don't sing. Let's just like get in there, do and get out kind of thing. Not to make it but to make it special for the people that were there and don't kind of worry about anyone else in a way. And of course, that's never how it works. People are asking tons of questions the whole time who aren't with us and a lot of beautiful stories coming out of that. But one of the ways that the team built love in was how and for me as like let's make it efficient. Let's not make it awkward. I was worried, to be 100% honest. But to watch, their plan was splitting up the 90 people into 2 groups, and then they're walking them out to the baptizers 2 by 2. And I'm thinking, just have them walk out there, whatever. What's the big deal, But on the walk, they're walking with one person. They're walking with like one site pastor team member or staff member, whatever it might be. They're learning a couple things about them that they weren't going to learn otherwise. And they're able to say to whoever's baptizing them, this is Mary. She's getting baptized because whatever. And so there's this really just lovely moment. And they're not, as we're reflecting on it, it felt fast. The whole experience felt quick.
It did, yeah.
But to them in the water, they were saying it felt so personal, so beautiful. They weren't like slamming people in the water, like trying to make this like assembly line happen. Yeah. And so I just thought, then those people are going to go from that and they're going to have not only their own story to tell, but just a feeling. We were able to like make them feel seen in a sea of hundreds of people. And so those are the things like, as we talk about this missional reorientation, what are the things where we're building in these what are the things we're building into experiences that people can take with them as they're interacting with people? So I just thought it was beautiful experience altogether, but to hear the stories that are coming out, it's really cool.
Yeah, that's amazing. Yeah, I love that. And I think as we just think about kind of principalizing that,
right.
it is I love the phrase building love in, and I think that's a good question for us to always ask every church leader. It's like these events that we do or these initiatives that we start or whatever, the programs that we pull off or groups that we have, is like, how are we building love in that people can be experiencing the love of God? I think it's a great lesson and a great spot to end.
Yeah. Okay.
So,
great.
Thanks. Hey, guys, if you want to follow along, please like and share this podcast if it was helpful to you, especially to other church leaders that you might know of that you think would benefit from these conversations. And we're going to have lots more. You can also follow along with a blog and an email list and some other lots of resources and tools over at dereksanford.com. Thank you so much for tuning in, and we'll talk to you next time.
See ya.